Engineer Obinna Ubah is a well-rounded real estate professional with over 5 years working experience in the industry as the Chief Visionary Officer of Cresco Homes and Properties. Before getting into real estate, Obinna was actively involved in software engineering, corporate branding, and business development for SMEs and persons brands across the country. In 2017, he set up Cresco Homes on the back of social media advertising, great content, years worth of corporate branding, and online business development expertise to offer top-notch real estate brokerage, property valuation, real estate investment advisory, mortgage consultancy, property management, design and development services. 5 years later, he has been able to build a company that has consistently averaged 2 billion naira in sales year on year, with an average of 50% growth in annual revenue year on year for the company. In the first quarter of 2022, the team at Cresco, led by Engineer Obinna, has now branched into inventory creation through real estate development and now has their first project situated within the Lekki Phase 1 axis, a 6-unit, 4-bedroom project worth over 1 billion naira. Yeah. Over the years, Engineer Obinna Ubah and his team have bagged multiple awards selling real estate for very notable real estate developers in the industry, and are now poised and well positioned to contribute their quota towards offsetting the housing deficit by creating products for the diverse and severely underserved market. So welcome, Mr. Obinna Ubah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today on this beautiful episode of My Authentic Real Estate Story.
Pleasure.
We can't wait to hear your story. So your professional profile actually says that you were, a software engineer, a bit of corporate branding, business development for SMEs. So I'm wondering, how did you, leap
from such
from tech world to real estate? Can you tell us a little bit of your story?
So funny story. I haven't been at the place all my life. I've been, I remember when at some point in my life I used to produce for artists. I used to make beats for people.
Oh, wow.
At some point in my life I used to sell headphones. I was into fashion. I'd make like bracelets.
So
I've always been, looking for like the best ways to make money and fend for myself. I'm not from a very wealthy background, so like early on, I learned how to, be very industrious
and hustle.
Hustle.
Our local word here.
And hustle, right? So I went to very decent schools. My parents made sure that we were properly educated.
That's my parents. That's their
properly educated. So it wasn't very difficult. So I had most of the skills that I needed to go out there, learn stuff, and then apply them. So from learning how to use basic softwares to make beats, right, to learn how to
you use softwares to make beats.
So we had stuff they called Fruity Loops back in the days. I don't know if any music heads watching, but
I'm sure.
So we had stuff like that on our computers, and I had one of those softwares on my computer, and I used to make beats for people in school then. I also remember that I was in the ESCO in my department back in school, and I would write letters to companies outside the country so we could visit their R&D units. So I was also into like should I say educative tourism. So I would want for say education, right? So I always thought people who were doing it better than you could
go
teach
learn
you
from
like
them.
a great deal. So yeah, so I would organize, stuff like that, with classmates just to. So I was always dabbling from one thing to another, and then I got into software development and corporate branding. I think that was like in my fourth year in uni. I went to Futo, by the way. I joined a creative design agency at the time, and I was project manager, right? And on the job, I started learning how to code. So I got into the company, and I was project managing most of our projects then. So I would go for meetings. I would liaise with people who needed to do stuff in their business. So maybe do like ads in their. So I was basically like the person who should I say managed the team, right? I saw stuff they were doing, and then like late in the night I would go back home, learn how to go on Code Academy and start to like code, right? So I taught myself how to code using softwares online then, and I think after like a year or two I was really good at it, and I started offering those services to people. So back in school, I would just go around town, and I would notice that there was a business that needed like a revamp, right? So I walk into the store, and I'm like, what, your logo looks really bad. Why don't I just help you, touch it up a bit? Do you have an online presence? I'll just help you, like create a website for you to, sell your products online. So I did that for a while in Owerri, right? And then I came back to Lagos. I decided to get a job, right? And run that on the side. So I met a bunch of businesses back here in Lagos, set up my own website so I could market to these businesses, and it was going great for a while. I had a decent paying job. I was just fresh out of school. I hadn't even done my youth service yet. I was gainfully employed at an outfit in VI. I think I was earning about 120,000 then. For someone
that's big money.
Yeah, for someone that had not gotten into
NYSC.
Yeah, youth service, and I negotiated a very decent working hours, three days a week, and it was really, it was a nice transition from school, right? While I was working with some other SMEs on the side. So I think while I was working with this outfit in VI, right, I stumbled upon a post on my WhatsApp. So it was a friend of mine who just put up, something in Ibejuleki, like they were selling stuff. I was like, what's happening? Like, what is in Ibejuleki? And like, I know this guy for a while, right? And like back then, where I used to live, with my parents, I used to see him around. Like he was, there wasn't a lot going on with him at the time. Do you understand?
And now you're seeing Ibejuleki land.
Ibejuleki land, and he's doing like a lot of stuff, around that area. I hit him up. I'm like, Chief, what's going on? Like, what? It's because I mean, I'm seeing an opportunity, or I'm seeing like results, right? Because at that point, it's not an opportunity. It's just, okay, this is someone that I used to know, and then I'm seeing a lot of stuff going on with him, and I reach out, right? And normal me now, once I hear $sign, or now, once I hear the Benjamins, I'm like, you know what, guys, where are we going to learn this new skill? Where are we going to, take this seminar?
Oh my God.
Like, we're going there. So he tells me about selling land in Ibejuleki, and I'm intrigued. Obviously the concept of real estate wasn't like new to me at the time, because my mom, while we were growing up, she dabbled in like real estate. So she would talk about like her work while at home, and I used to hear big numbers then, right? So it wasn't my first time, hearing about real estate, but it was kind of like my first time coming in close proximity. As your baptism. Coming in close proximity with the going ons, right? In that space. So so he invited me over, and I remember waking up around, I think 5:30 or so, because
when money is involved.
So I remember waking up that early and heading out to Ibejuleki for a seminar, because it was just a seminar. It was like, come, we're going to teach you what we know. and I wanted to know what they knew, because I mean they were. So I went there. I sat down with about like say 5 to 6 in the seminar, and they started talking about Ibejuleki, Akodo-Ise, and stuff like that. And I was like, really? Wow! So like you can buy land for this cheap? So are you saying that what people are buying, what people are paying for like mobile phones, that's what you people are using to buy land? And like, why aren't people buying this? Like, why people rushing? Like, cause it just did, cause it made like. It was a no-brainer for me.
How far back?
So this was as far back as I think 2016. There about 2016, 2017. 2016, yeah, it was 2016. So I was like, it's a no-brainer. Like if you're selling this, like everybody should buy. Like if you're selling land, everybody at this price, everybody should buy. And I just got excited. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell this shit out of this. And like I usually have this, original excitement when I fall in love with like the idea of something, initially, like I'm just overwhelmed with excitement because I believe so much in it. And then like you start to see it even from the way I, gesticulate and the way I talk, you be like, what's this
you
boy
bring all the energy.
I bring all the energy. What is this boy even talking about? So that was like the vibe, that was like the energy I took with me from that seminar. I was like, everybody if I first of all, everybody on my contact list must hear about this. They must first hear at first, because I didn't know if they had money to buy.
Okay, true.
But I was like, they would hear about it first, and I went back home and I started posting. I started like, come and see this Kiniko. And I had a lot of materials from them. And like I would, so back then, I believed a lot in cold calling, right? For a tech guy.
People weren't as nasty.
Yeah, so for a tech guy, right? I mean, if you're in tech,
at that time, people weren't as nasty.
At that time, people were
they're a bit more receptive.
So I believed a lot in cold calling, right? So I would buy credits. I'd write
your long list.
Everybody I need to call.
Well,
I would just lock myself.
That's a marketing hack. You should come and
I would just lock. I mean, I don't know if it works as well these days.
That's why I said people were more receptive.
Yeah, except for people who you've like leads that you've cultivated.
Yes.
And they are now like paying clients. Those kind of people you can actually like have it. I mean, it's more effective.
Cold call still works.
Yeah,
maybe. It might not be as effective, so
as it used to be.
Yeah, one of two out of.
Yeah. But what you notice is that you're going to put in more energy into so versus if you take that time and energy and put it into like online marketing stuff like that. So back then I didn't have any. So that's my starting with zero story. I didn't have any money aside from. I mean, I had some money saved up, right, from my jobs and all that, but I didn't really put a lot of money into marketing at that time, because I was just getting to understand the craft, and I hadn't yet come up with strategies yet. So it was just cold calling. So it was like my 1,500 naira credits and a list of people to call, and then I started calling, and after every call, I just kept going. So it wasn't like I was getting no's and then I'll just be like, maybe I should just, give up. I kept getting no's, and then what I thought to myself was that this person does not even understand the kind of thing he's saying.
He's missing.
Yeah, so
this is not normal.
Yeah, so that was the energy I had. That was the feeling I had. It was like, how can you say no to this kind of thing? This person
doesn't understand.
Next one. And I did that for a while, for a very long. I mean, I did that for a few weeks, intermittently. So it wasn't spaced evenly.
So why did you believe that early in real estate?
Because. So why did I believe?
Because you hadn't done it. You hadn't experienced so much.
So it was the thought of owning a property for that cheap that intrigued me. Earlier in my story, I said when I was introduced to real estate, and he told me how much it was, it cost as low as 700,000 naira then. You could get a land for like 700, 500,000 naira then. So for me, I was like, what is the opportunity cost of buying this land?
It's like guys probably blowing it in the club, or
buying
buying a mobile phone, like you said.
Exactly. So that was really what like intrigued me, because it was what made me believe. And then I had seen that obviously from, should I say, previous mistakes that I have observed from people who had come before me, right, who didn't have like real estate or real estate investments, right? If you didn't have real estate investments, like later on in your life, you definitely feel the heat.
Yes,
you
don't have a fallback.
Exactly, you won't have a fallback. So for me, I was like, if it's this easy or this cheap to get to have a fallback, right? Then why shouldn't you? Yeah, exactly. Why should anyone?
Amazing. So what you have just re-emphasized is a lot of people have that barrier notion of coming into real estate. So your answer has just told them again that you don't need to start with the millions. There are still hundreds, even up till now.
Up till today.
Yeah. So you started with marketing those. And how did that go really? Did you, from those cold calls, did you get a lot of conversion, that eventually encouraged you to continue?
Yeah, so I think after a while, right, say a few weeks, I was actually a bit fortunate, to find a friend of mine who had just moved to the UK, who, was really interested. So he had a similar or his dad had a similar, experience with real estate, where he invested early enough, and then he had like
multiple
a fallback,
returns,
multiple
eventually
returns later on. So he practically just wanted to follow his dad's footsteps, right? So it was kind of like an easy, sell, because he already had
mindset,
that mindset, that sort of orientation from his father. Yeah. So when I reached out to him, of course I had to reach out first. After I reached out to him and explained, the opportunities, in Ibejuleki, he bought into it, and I think he and his brother bought 2 plots from me at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I closed that deal, and I was really happy. I was super excited. I went back to Mr. Azonobi, that's the man who introduced me. I went back to him and I told him, and he was so excited. And I think from then on, right, I started to believe, in
real estate marketing.
Making money from real estate marketing.
Amazing.
So making that much, it was interesting, and I just decided, this is what I'm going to keep doing.
Interesting. So honestly, I'll still ask this: why would you eventually choose real estate in this time where we know that software engineers are here making a kill?
Oh, okay. So I think back then in 2016, 2017, tech startups, there were a bunch of tech startups then, so there was Jumia, there was Konga, Tech Cabal, some other guys were coming up, but it wasn't really as, it wasn't really as
the
pronounced
boom
as, the boom hadn't come then, there are lots of VCs now in the market, people are putting in tens of millions of dollars into, first seed investments and stuff like that. It wasn't that pronounced back then, and I had to work, to be very, very sincere, right? The amount of money I made from, making a sale in real estate and how quick it was, right, versus how much work I would put in.
The conversion was just sweeter.
It was definitely, I really couldn't come. I was like, so if I can do this within this little time, I have to spend hours and hours, right, writing codes and stuff like that. So,
but sometimes it takes a while in real estate too.
It does.
Because I'm sure you'd have experienced some months of.
Yeah, so there were months of droughts. They were definitely months of droughts. I guess when I think there are months of droughts in any kind of business that you do. True. Even with like software engineering, like it's good. There might take some time before you get someone that refers you. Even after you market for a while, you might not get the person who will pay you the right amount that you think you deserve for the kind of work you want to put out. stuff like that. So I guess, there are droughts in every industry. But I think like with real estate, it was a bit seamless. I think the amount of work, the amount of time, that it took to close a transaction, and how, because I really enjoy working with people, right? So like, I tap into like their needs. I'm a very empathetic person. So like I consider myself an empath, and so I can feel like what people,
the pulses
exactly.
and all.
So I enjoyed solving those kind of problems. So I enjoy working with people. I enjoy like the gratification I get when I get them that really good investment, and because I believe a lot in real estate, when I do that for them, it just gives me this this warm fuzzy feeling. I think I prefer that feeling to the feeling like I used to get when I was in that
amazing. So that just explains it. The fact that you're able to meet people's needs, and then the gratification that comes with it is, that's what tickles your fancy and gets you off your bed, to real estate instead of software engineering. Amazing. So you started off as an agent, and in the last year or so, we've seen you transition from a real estate agent to real estate development. How did this transition happen?
Well, I think it was a slow and steady process. The moment you start to sell properties, right, as an agent, you're going to be exposed to the work that developers do, and if you're passionate about the work that you do, eventually you're going to feel the need to like contribute to that, to what I usually term as the housing deficit here, but basically just build products too that would.
Was that your plan from the beginning?
So when as I got exposed to like products on the market, right, I started to picture myself,
amazing,
selling, delivering those products, and also selling to people, So I think
further satisfying
exactly
that's dreams exactly for your clients.
So I think that already in the first year I had already started thinking about like real estate development. I thought long and hard. I would think long and hard about it and how I was going to come into the project, into the space. If I was going to, learn how to design as an architect, because I didn't have any like architectural background, or if I was going to partner with people, or how I was going to like, come about it, or if I was going to, like learn from a mentor and stuff. So I had most of those thoughts in my mind, even in the first year. So it was just, like nestled somewhere in there or in here, right? And, over time, I guess it became clearer. I think with time, as you work, in the space, you're going to meet people, you're going to understand the business more, you're going to understand finances, you're going to understand, the technical aspects, you're going to, network with people. And eventually, like, if you're passionate enough, or if you're really like driven and you want to get to that point, you're going to connect those different dots and make it happen, and deliver the products.
So for you now, can you tell us practical? How did you go from being an agent to being a developer? Did you get to speak to mentors? Did you collaborate? Are you working with a mentor? How are you able to navigate now?
Okay, so I'd say that it's a combination of everything you just said.
Okay.
Right, but I'm going to try to condense and just stick to like specifics as to how I got
been able to achieve it.
So when after I started Cresco and we started selling to people, I thought to myself that, okay, for us to transition, right, to development, we need to have some certain level of expertise. So I started working, with people. I started like talking to people who later came in house as architects, as an architect slash project manager, right? So we got people into like the team, right? And we started working on small projects. So we would work on like design projects for some for like a business owner in Ikeja and deliver on that. We work on like a small interior project and deliver on that. So we started building our confidence, And then I think back in 2020 during the pandemic, we engaged a property owner, and we spoke to him about the joint venture. So he had we had already built our confidence, and then he had this project that was laying fallow for over 2 years. He hadn't sold it yet, but he had people he had mandated to sell the property, but it was still on the market, and we came across it, and we thought to ourselves that, look, we understand why this is still on the market. It doesn't look good. Like you can't bring people here. Like the ceiling's already falling off. How are you supposed to sell this to someone, in this state? So we thought to ourselves, you know what, we should do it up, right? We should do it up and propose that we, propose that to
a JV.
To the property owner. And I worked with my team. We came up with a proposal. Sent it out. And luckily he agreed. So we came on the projects. We got people to come in. We did assessments, to understand all the fixes that we're supposed to put in. All that knowledge that we had, all that experience we had gathered from just bits here and there, working on little projects here and there, it all paid off eventually. It gave us that confidence to approach him, and then he also gave us the confidence to execute, right? So we went on the project, did the assessments, got everything sorted, got our handymen on ground, and then we had like I think a 60-day window for renovation work, right? So after we started, I remember I was working on the drainage, did the roof, we repainted, we got scaffoldings in, we did the pool, changed some faucets, and we did that with some of the money that we had saved, and then we now started marketing, to people. So we got into that project in I think April of 2020, and by April, May, June. By June 2020, we had sold everything. We sold,
amazing.
So we had about 12 units that we were working on, right? So we had 6 flats. So we had 3 1-bedrooms, 3 2-bedrooms, and we had 6 4-bedroom townhouses, right? It was sitting on about, say, 2,400 square meters, thereabout. And like we had like a 2-phase marketing strategy where we were going to speak to investors who, we thought it would be a decent opportunity for them to buy and then put it back on the market for like short let actually.
Oh, okay.
And that was the first phase, and the second phase was offered to families in bits or investors in bits. So we had that two-phase marketing strategy. And when we started the first phase marketing strategy, we called up a few people. Luckily, we had offers already on that first phase, and we did some negotiations, and we sold. So we sold that project for about $1.3 million back then during COVID. The entire project, all in one swoop, and it was a huge win for us because it was our first project
major project.
Like, so all that cumulative like here and there experiences now paid off, right? So it wasn't really like we just woke up one day and just said, okay, we're going to go into development. So
you started in
exactly. So fast forward after 2020, after we did that, we didn't do any other things. We had plans to do stuff. We wanted to go into Lekki County at some point. well, we just say, maybe not. Maybe we should just move back up there and go to somewhere else. So we got the land actually at Lekki County, but we didn't develop. So we decided to get out of Lekki County, and we waited a bit. Wanted to go into Ologolo, and then we decided not to go into Ologolo again. So fast forward 2021, in November thereabout, we got into another partnership, that helped us acquire, land in Lekki Phase 1. So we did all our feasibility studies and all of that, raised some money, and then we purchased the land, and that's where we are now. So it's
okay.
About,
so what are the lessons, on the upsides and the downsides that you have, experienced so far that you can share from this transition?
Well, I would say that always have a goal, right? But then the plan shouldn't be fixed. So you can have a plan now, but then always be willing to be flexible. So the goal, even from our first year, was we're going to get into development at some point.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, our first development gig, right, was 3 years after. Exactly. So I think one of the upsides of that's an upside, right? Or being in that process where you're not shifting goalposts, but then you
can dribble,
exactly,
you can strike.
And at the end of the day, you get there. I don't know about downsides. I don't know about downsides of this particular process. I think that
so you haven't had challenges.
I would say, well.
So what you are saying is adulthood is not scam.
I would say that it depends on the kind of challenges we're talking about.
Yeah, because it's a huge move from just doing agency and walking away to being the one who is actually doing the construction work, dealing with all the workers, and then of course the financing, which is a lot. So
well, I would say that, you mentioned a few challenges that I wouldn't really regard them as, I would say it's part of the things you have to be prepared for if you're on the job, right? So that's why I wouldn't call it a downside per se.
Okay.
I would say it's part of the gig. You have to, if you're going into anything unprepared,
you're going to learn how to swim. You might as well get yourself ready to drink plenty of water.
You need to come with your floater if possible.
Even with your floater, you still drink water. They say everybody must chop breakfast. So your first chop breakfast before you begin chop lunch. Okay, amazing. So a very interesting question I told you I was going to ask today. So now, being on both sides of this divide, agents are always shouting, developers increase agency fee. Agency fee talk. Interesting, you're laughing.
I know where this question is headed. Okay, go on.
You have a feeling. Okay, let me allow you answer before I finish the question. So, in every breakfast session we have, every opportunity that we have to host agents, that conversation always comes up. The commission structure is this, we had rather this and that. So you who have, been part of both worlds, right? Do you understand, from their end and from the developer's end now, how this agency structure works, and what really would you, say on this?
Okay, well, so first of all, I'd like to say that the agency model in real estate isn't really it's not like an alien model, because
it's not cast in stone.
No, what I'm trying to say is it's not an unfamiliar model. Okay. Right. So what I mean is in other industries there are ways where people who, most people call them middlemen. Do you understand? Even in insurance, there's an insurance broker. Even in regular brick and mortar stores, you have affiliates, you know, who run like affiliate programs and stuff like that. So there are usually incentives for people who bring buyer and seller together, or service provider and service consumer together. I think what most people on the middleman side of the bench, what they usually, I won't use the word complain, or what they're usually concerned about is the size of the incentive, which is kind of what you were also mentioning, because most people just say, oh, you know what, the size of the incentive.
You are paying 2%. Why can't you pay 5%? Why can't others are paying 3%? Why are you not paying 5%?
Yeah, that sort of stuff. So I think that as an agent, right? The reason it's difficult for me to take this on, because
I love it.
I'm on both sides.
So that's why I'm actually asking you, because right now you have experienced the developer side, you have been on the agent side, so you are in a better position to say, okay, guys, on this side, this is why it is like this. Guys, on this side, this is why we should do this.
Okay, so I'm going to say that. What I started with was I wanted to start with like where it comes from, like, you know, the agents as the middlemen, when they talk about like this stuff, where it actually comes from.
Okay.
It really comes from it's about who is paying more. So it's like it's coming from that. There's a competitive angle to that question, right? So if there was like a flat rate, like if there was a rate adopted by, you know, the entire developers, and like it's, you know, it's somewhere in the law that states this is the exact price and it has to be adhered to. Do you understand? Most agents won't really, you know, like talk about it. It's because when they go from project to project, one person is paying 1 million, another person is paying. There's
no proper regulation.
Yeah, exactly. That's really why most brokers, you know, they have to ask that question, because developer A is not paying 2%, you know, while this person is paying like 5% and stuff. That's the reason why. Now, what I think about it, right, is that depending on what the developer is offering, right? So by what's offering, I'm not just talking about the product itself. I'm talking about what goes into, like, you know, the production of that product. So money-wise, right? So how much money am I putting into making this product valuable, right? So if I'm a developer, right, I'm thinking about the product a lot more times than I'm thinking about, you know, the middlemen who are selling the product. I'm thinking about them as well, right? But if there's no product, neither of us will exist. Do you understand? So when I'm you know, thinking about the product, and there's a way I can factor my prices to make sure that I'm delivering value to these guys, and there's still room to bump up your incentives to a point where everybody's happy. Then I'll do that as a developer. So there are times where you're building in a place like, say, Lekki, for instance, and the price of the land is
exorbitant,
in millions, hundreds of millions of naira, right? So already you can imagine that your cost of production, right, your cost of delivery is going to be on the high side. You know, you're thinking about value creation, right? Exactly. So if you're going to deliver value, you know, to the people who are buying the houses, it's most likely the incentive for the middlemen might not be as high, you know, as, you know, they would want it to be. So
this question is really interesting. And
so
Dr. Ned is engrossed with making sure that a lot of agents transition, because at the end of the day, that's the only time you can actually understand, apart from commission structure, what goes on, you know, on both sides. So when someone is speaking, you can speak from a better angle, space, because you have been here, you have been there, and so you can understand, you know, when someone is complaining about, oh, the value that you put in the product. as the developer, you can speak to another client and say, oh, I can categorically tell you this is actually what, the value that you are, being offered for it. As an agent, you might not completely understand because you don't know. So it is very important that, we experience both parts.
Both parts.
Yeah, so that way we're better informed, to actually address either parties, whether the agents or even the clients. So I'm very glad that you've experienced both and that you have used this experience now to answer this question.
Okay.
So tomorrow when they are shouting agency fee, you will be smiling at them and you tell them, guys, be calming down.
You don't understand.
So it took him a while to be explaining, but he says, I'm glad that a lot of them are transitioning. So now they better, understand this ideas. Okay, so let's continue. What had let me ask, what part of it provides you professional satisfaction? So being an agent or being a developer, which one really makes you happier?
They both have their they both have different gratification levels. I think so. I'm fairly new to the development space, right? And I haven't yet gotten to that point where I can look at my creation and be like, yes, I helped 6 families,
settle into their own home.
Own like a piece of Lagos real estate. But I can say that the process itself also has some form of gratification because before I started doing this, I didn't know. I had idea that, like I said, we already had 1 or 2 experiences, but we hadn't done anything from scratch, right? So after starting this, I was able to see the amount of work needed to make sure that a project runs smoothly, and I think I've come to appreciate when other developers, were able to go in and go out. That's why I think even before this interview, I was throwing accolades on Citadel views, and I was telling you how excited I was because I didn't see it as a product for consumption anymore. I saw it as a product that had been worked on, that had been conceptualized, that had plans, that had moving. You saw parts.
It all happen.
Exactly.
From mainland to.
Yeah, so not just observing the process anymore, but thinking about the people who were involved in the process and what it must have taken them.
Wearing their shoes a bit.
Exactly. So I've come to see things
from idea conceptualization to execution.
So that's also a form of gratification that I feel from the development experience. Right? I'm yet to feel I'm yet to see mine come to life, but I know it's just in a
couple of months.
Yeah, we're already on our 2nd floor now, and we just started in March. So I'm very happy about.
So you're doing 6 units.
Yeah, we're doing 6 units of 4-bedroom townhouses.
Amazing.
Each with a BQ. It's about 258 square meters of space. So it's interior living spaces. So it's quite big. And it's in one of the choicest locations in Lekki Phase 1 U3 Estate. So it's something that I'm proud of. Right,
I can tell.
I'm proud of how far we've come on that project, and I can't wait to deliver something
spectacular
to people who would eventually.
We can't wait. We can't wait to come see it and celebrate with you and handshake those who are buying into the dream. So since COVID. And its accompanying economic challenges, the real estate industry, like many others, has faced cost overrun, and Nigeria is still facing, the housing deficit, like you have mentioned a couple of times. How do you think aspirational living can be made accessible, not even affordable now, because affordable is relative?
I think it's a no-brainer that we have to, all stakeholders, including, most importantly, the government, needs to put their eye on infrastructure, The roads leading to these cities that we all are building, right, need to be much more motorable, right? People need to have like much more options. So if we're to have different modes of transportation, and like if we fix
the
our
influx
transportation
into Lagos,
exactly, we're going to have more options for people to pick dwelling cities from. So no, people are not going to always come to Lekki and all of that.
Congested.
Right now, if you're not riding an SUV, you can't go through some of the roads. It's so bad. So it affects the work that we do. It also creates pseudo scarcity. So what that means is, well, we're now looking for properties in a particular area, and then there's scarcity of property. Meanwhile, there's like an abundance of land
in so many other
areas,
but because there's the deficit of infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. Because we can't use them, because you can't drive to those places. If we go and build houses there and take you there, you'll be like, sir, I'm not buying. Because I can't go to VI from Badagry, or I can't go to VI because that's where I work. I think that we need to start to have much more and more conversations around infrastructure. We've been having these conversations for ages now. But I think we need to put pressure on the people who can, actually do stuff about it. I think that's what would greatly increase, accessibility to.
Amazing. I actually had so many questions lined up, but so that we're not overflooding overflooding this, let me just ask a few more and we're done. What are the things that you think distinguishes a real estate agent?
Well, I'll just say one word: integrity.
Amazing.
Integrity. You just have to do what you say.
And the flip side is developers.
And exactly, I was going to say the same thing. So it applies to. In fact, I think it applies to every profession. That your
word is your
word is your bond. So you promise to do something and then you do it. And for agents, because a lot of agents, a lot of our work has to do with like the things that we say,
communication,
and information that we pass on. So it's actually much more important for people like us, because we're always talking to people and giving them information. So we have to verify our information. We have to make sure that we don't let greed overshadow, like the prospect of building a long-lasting relationship. Because you need relationships to grow. You can't grow in isolation. So that's a really important trait that distinguishes the real estate agent or anyone.
That's really amazing. So if you weren't doing real estate, you'd still be a software engineer. Any regrets?
No regrets. No regrets, I tell you. No regrets. So to be very honest, I don't know what I would be doing
because you've been moving.
Because I've been moving. I've been moving. I mean, like, funny thing, right? Funny thing is, even while doing real estate, I've been trying other stuff. I've tried logistics. I've tried. Yeah. So while while building and sustaining like this arm of
you have
business,
to actually diversify, but then you need to focus and make sure what is working first.
Exactly. So yeah. So no regrets at all. No regrets at all. I think I'm excited for the future. I'm excited because we're not just delivering units anymore, right? People are innovating now.
Yeah. So speaking about Citadel, you mentioned earlier. How do you think we can sustain, housing developments in Nigeria?
Well, it's a good thing you brought up Citadel because Citadel has done something that a lot of people have been clamoring for, especially in recent times, especially during this should I say power crisis, right? Which is building a sustainable power alternative, for a dwelling city, right? I think Citadel is about 200 plus units. 300 plus. I'm so sorry.
For 1.0, and then of course.
I'm so sorry.
And then of course 2.0 is still over 300.
Exactly. So think about 300 families exposed to that kind of
energy solution.
So that is groundbreaking. That is groundbreaking, and it's going to start with power, right? There's still a bunch of other stuff. There's water. There is there's going to be building material, right?
Yeah.
I know with time we're going to innovate to the point where we're going to spend less
sustainable
building materials. So this is a frontier, and I'm super excited where the industry is going. I can't wait to be I can't wait to be fully immersed in that ecosystem. We're doing our part, our small part, but we're also looking up to the big dogs. And we're going to hopefully be collaborating, because we also need to work together in order to improve our ecosystem, because we're all part of it. So I think from power, water, building materials, I think we're definitely going to get there. And another thing is cost of land, right? I mean, I'm not particularly sure how we can.
I'm hoping you can tell us.
I mean, we talked about like infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about infrastructure. I know that would help if we can find a solution to
all the stakeholders
exactly. We can come together and push that. Push that.
It's not a private sector or government only problem. I think both have to come together to collaborate.
I agree.
To drive it.
Yeah. So I'm sure once we get to that, once we can get there, I'm sure it's going to affect every other thing. We'll start to see decrease in land
congestion.
There's going to be decongestion, and then it's going to leave other areas open for investment, and that would also help with access to affordable housing, because more people will definitely come into the space. I don't know how many foreign investors are in the country at the moment, or aren't in the country at the moment due to most of these problems. There's huge potential. There's huge potential here, and I think it's our collective responsibility to realize that potential. By tackling the problems, finding solutions to them, and sky will be our limit.
It's been such an amazing conversation, with you today, and I am really glad that you've had to share your story. I'm not sure if you've shared it before. Have you shared it before?
I think just one time, and it was with Dr. Ken.
Oh wow!
It was on his IG live. It was during COVID. Yeah, so we got on IG and we talked about it for a bit, but but I'm happy to be here once again. I think there's been a huge difference
transitioning from 2020 then and now. So you have more experiences and more to share.
Exactly, and more to be excited about too.
I know. And so those who are looking up to you, what would you say to them, the young aspiring agents or developers in the making, who are looking up to Cresco and saying, "Oh, this guy did it in 5 years. Wow, how did he get here?" They've heard a lot, but what can you say to them has gotten you this far?
I'd say amongst like other things, be a doer, right? A lot of people sit on their ideas for too long. You think up stuff and you're not executing, right? You probably even have better ideas than the guys who are out there doing stuff, right? So I would say be a doer, be more of a doer, right? And also cultivate a habit of keeping to your word. So build integrity, right? Because you can't really go anywhere without relationships, and integrity helps you build relationships. So you need to be the stand-up guy. You need to be the guy that people say, "Oh, don't worry, it's Obinna. Don't worry, it's going to be done. I don't want to just leave Obinna." it's going to be done. So you need to be that guy, and you need to.
What goes on the street, if it's Obinna, leave it to him.
Leave it to him. You need to be that guy. So, so that's exactly what I think. I would like to tell anyone who's watching. Anyone who's inspired by this in any way or form. So just get up your ass and.
So many are usually scared to transition from, agency to development because, capital intensive. Can you just in a minute or two just dissect it for them? Okay. How you've been able to manage your finances transitioning from agents to development?
I'd say for finances, if you're worrying about finances when you're trying to make that transition, you're going to be stuck there for a while.
True.
I think you should worry about creating value. So think about the type of value you want to create for the end user, the kind of value you want to create for investors, and the kind of value you want to create for yourself. Right? Focus on that. Create plans that follow those values, and trust me, you're going to get to where you need to. Because by the time you're fleshing stuff out,
and what has worked for you, mentioned, was collaboration.
Yes,
so you brought people into your team, architect who is a project manager, and then of course you guys, I believe, are also putting funds together. So they don't necessarily need to do it alone.
You don't exactly. So partnerships, they help a lot. Some people, most times when they want to when they think about building, right? They start to think about design and oh my God, I don't have the money to be a designer. You can talk to people who are good at it and share your vision
and then bring them on board.
And you can do stuff.
I'm sure a lot of them is greed.
Yeah.
They want to do it and own and earn everything.
So the thing is, you need to dissociate yourself from that. I can do it alone. I want to do it alone mentality.
And earn everything, collect all the money.
It will be the end of you. Even the richest people on earth, right? Most of them don't even own up to half of their company. Do you understand?
So if you even notice the high tech companies, they don't run an R&D unit or department. Most of them wait for these tech startups to design, and then they just buy over the company. They don't bother spending money or resource. They just wait for these guys to bring the ideas, see that the idea works, and then they just buy them over.
That is totally correct. That is totally correct. Even with people in our space, right? If I think where I stay, right? The developers of the estate are not the guys who manage the estate. You need people. You need people who you can merge, you can align with and achieve. Because at the end of the day, you want to be scalable. You want to be able to create value. And you can't do it alone. You're going to just be you're going to be burnt out.
So I think they also need to do a lot of reorientation and educating themselves. If you, like I said, if you go read up on the big shots or the big players, especially in the tech space, for instance. They don't do everything themselves. Nope. Nobody does everything.
Nobody does everything.
even the big shots in the real estate space, they don't have a full team. Victoria Crest, Citadel Views, we don't have a full team that does design and everything. Do you understand? So you don't really need to do everything.
See, that's a brilliant example.
We collaborate.
That's a brilliant example.
We have an in-house team, but then we also have to consult here and there. So you don't have to do everything.
Perfectly understood.
Thank you so much, Obinna, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I had an amazing time having this conversation.
I don't think I've laughed this hard in a while.
Are you serious? Woo! So we should bring you. Maybe the next one will be live.
Okay.
We'll probably do IG live. We'll come and tell the story. Then, by God's grace, you would have finished. And hopefully your joy would have pumped more.
Yes.
You would have handed over and your joy would have pumped more. And you can come and tell us the excitement you feel now on a higher level, where you have handed over the units and
Looking forward to. I've had an exciting time talking to you. I think Netcom Oaks has Netcom Oaks is a huge part of my story, right? I don't know if I said it enough during the interview. You know, I remember coming here one of my first breakfast meeting, and I was like, you know what? Like, give me all the details. This is your property that has 24 hours electricity and swimming pool and gym. My
things
people
that we used to dream about.
My people love, yeah. So I, you know, and it's been you know, like years since then, and you know, there's a bunch of estates now that have, you know, gym,
have incorporated those.
Exactly. So it's fun to see, you know, the growth. You know, it's fun to see the progression. You know, and now, you know, we now have our first solar powered estate. You know, so I mean, it's a no-brainer. I'm sure. In fact, if I'm doing
a new project,
I have solar. Dr. Ken,
how are
we going to do this solar? Because,
I know.
Yeah, because so we have.
You know, I asked you. I said, everyone wants to live a comfortable life, but at what cost, right?
Yeah. So it's exciting to see. I can't wait to see the next 5 years in real estate. You know, there's still for people who are also listening, there's still the property management space that is still very severely underserved. You know,
absolutely.
You know, people are complaining about rents and stuff like that. There are landlords that can't keep tabs. You know, houses are not, you know, used properly and all of that. You know, so that's the space, and that's where you
still
can
the issues of not renting to women.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a party to that.
I had people who were handling that properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually do not. I find that very, very disturbing. You know, it's not. I mean, it's not. I mean, most people say, most people say, you know, the patriarchy and all of that, but I mean, we're evolved as a people, and you know, we're much more modern, and we have different sets of values. I think we need to, just like you use the word, reorientate, you know, some of our beliefs, and you know, I don't think gender should be.
So you mentioned property management, and that's where they come in, because if you have, you know, very pronounced people who have over time built, you know, integrity, and you know, they have a clientele base that people know that these guys, if you work with them, they don't have issues, then you know, I think that settles most of that issue. So that market is quite underserved, and so if we have more influx, and then of course more women in that space, then you know, most of all these issues would be
totally
addressed. So thank you so much again for, you know, sharing with us today your authentic real estate story. It's been an amazing one, an amazing conversation, and I really hope that everyone who has listened to you today have taken away nuggets, especially those who are looking up to you, those who are coming behind, those who want to be agents or transition into development, which is really the most interesting part of this conversation today for me. You know, it's going to give them those nuggets that they require, you know, to take that leap. And then, of course, for you who is empathic and very excited about, you know, just delivering value and wearing smiles on, you know, the faces of your clients, you know, that dream continues to be actualized for you. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. And thank you for joining us today. It's still your authentic real estate story with the CEO of Lily. We've had an amazing conversation today, and I am very positive that you have learned a whole lot, especially from Obinna, the CEO of Cresco Homes. We look forward to, you know, your comments as you watch them. Please don't forget to like, share with everyone in your community. And this is signing out, hoping to see you soon on the next episode. Thank you so much.